Hey everyone, so today we're talking about thick, fuller hair versus thinner, flatter hair. And I'm gonna be doing a lot of these kind of versus videos, so let me know if there's any versus, hair type videos you wanna see, curly versus straight, wavy versus curly, frizzy versus smooth. I'm gonna start doing a bunch of these, which I think is gonna be very exciting. So today, we're talking about, really thick, full, voluminous hair versus flat hair, the biggest differences, some pros and cons, and here we go. So let's start with the fuller hair. Now, I know everyone's probably gonna think, oh, I want full hair, the thicker the hair, the better, and this is what I want, this is the best thing. Let's talk about what, the benefits of thick hair. Obviously, from a visual perspective, it looks nice, it's a full head of hair, you've got all this volume in through here. People are gonna notice this and go, wow, what a nice thick head of hair. It's just from a visual perspective, it's really, really nice. Also from a responsive perspective, when it comes to styling, a lot of times thicker hair or fuller hair may be a little bit easier to work with as far as styling it goes, right? With product, you can absorb more products, you can experiment a bit more. I mean, it's thicker hair, it's fuller hair. You have that natural volume sometimes where it doesn't require as much product. You've got all this fullness in through here. So now the cons of having very full, kind of thicker hair is that one, it ends up being very, very heavy. And if you grow your hair out or wear it a bit longer, what's gonna happen is that it's gonna maybe start to split like this. I did a video recently of how to get rid of a middle part, but on heavier, thicker hair, it's gonna start to split. And, especially if you wanna grow it out, you may end up with something like this, unless you, constantly are blow drying it and getting it to fall into place to where it's gonna look how you want it to look. Also, there's a lot more hair in your head, so you may feel a bit warmer, or your head may get hotter, you may sweat more, things like that. Chances are that your hair will start to feel very heavy, but if you don't, get a haircut or trim it regularly. And I know a lot of people with thick, fuller hair start to complain, oh, it's just so thick, I can't stand it, it's always in here, gets so bushy. So you have to deal with having too much hair and having too much of that fullness to where you may say, oh, I wish my hair wasn't so full. So you can get a little more kind of closer this way and closer this way, a little bit more narrow and stuff like that. So, do the pros outweigh the cons? It really depends on you as an individual, and it's more personal preference. So now let's talk about if you have finer hair like this, right? Or flatter hair, so to speak. So sometimes people may say, oh, my hair is so flat, it just, lays closer to my head. It just doesn't have any volume to it. Well, why, what are the pros of having more flat, smoother hair like this so it's not so thick and full? Well, clearly, if you want to have a hairstyle that is a bit more, closer to the head like this, and you want to maybe more narrow down, if you've got a rounder face, and you want to narrow down and slim down certain parts of your face or your head shape, while having, finer, more smoother hair definitely is going to help more. Also, I know a lot of times it's not like as your hair grows out, you're gonna have more time where you start to feel like, okay, my hair just feels like there's too much hair in my head, it's getting too heavy. You may go a longer period while feeling that because obviously there's not as much hair and it's a bit flatter, closer to your head. So, you may go a longer period of time without feeling like there's too much, all right? The next thing is that especially if your hair is a bit longer. Now, if you had a shorter hairstyle and you had finer hair, like something like this, right? This is basically the same exact mannequin. So this hair is the same as this as far as density goes, and it's a bit on the finer side. So as you can see, you may have the opportunity to have more hairstyles because when your hair is actually too thick, it's gonna weigh itself down and you have to do a lot more to manipulate it, whereas finer hair sometimes, because of the hair being each strand a bit more finer and smoother and softer, you can actually manipulate it a lot easier when it comes to styling, right? And you can kind of lock it in place more and get different types of results. Whereas again, if the hair is too thick, it's harder to do that, right? So now let's talk about the cons of having, maybe finer hair. And I'm not talking about like balding or losing your hair. I'm just talking about like you have a full head of hair, it just lays a lot flatter, right, to your head. It's a lot more, a lot closer. So the cons are that if you feel that you're an individual who just wants more volume, you feel like, oh, my hair is so fine, it just lays flat, nothing ever happens. Well, excuse me, that's because of the hair. And the longer the hair gets when it's finer, actually it's like having thicker hair, it's just gonna weigh it down and keep it much closer to the head. It's not gonna feel as heavy, but it's just going to weigh everything down and just make this look even more thin and narrow. Again, if you're looking for that, that's beautiful. This is gonna work in your favor, right? If you're someone who wants maybe like a bob and you don't wanna have that fullness or rounded shape, this is actually gonna work beautifully for you because the hair is gonna weigh itself down in a way where it's not growing outwards this way, it's more growing down, okay? The next con to maybe having finer, thicker hair is sometimes I've noticed the longer the hair gets on finer hair and flatter hair, the easier it is to tangle. And I know it doesn't make sense, but finer hair, it actually tends to bind together a lot quicker. So if I were to, mat this all up and create, I'm already creating knots in here, as you can see. Whereas thicker hair, because of the density, and fuller hair, it's gonna take me a lot more time to kind of break through that barrier to create those knots and that texture. So with finer hair, I'm actually able to create more stuff, AKA styles, things like that. So, having flatter hair or finer hair not necessarily is like the worst thing because I feel you can manipulate it a little bit easier. Also from a visual perspective, if you're somebody who wants that full, thicker kind of look where you go like this and you get all that volume and texture and it just always flops down like this, well, again, it may look fine to someone else. However, you just may want more hair and you want your hair thicker. So it's really interesting, the dichotomy between having super full, thick hair, right? Like something like this, and people with this kind of hair saying, oh my gosh, my hair is so thick, I wish it was thinner, I wish I had less hair. And then the opposite is something like this. Hey everyone, sorry about this. Unfortunately, my mic cut out, so I'm just gonna do a voiceover. But yeah, there's a lot of people compare and they say, oh, I wish my hair was a lot flatter. It's so thick all the time. I mean, there's a lot of things that, people can say. And, unfortunately, there's people who always are wondering how to combat both. Tidal Wave is a great product for, finer hair. It's great if you're trying to create waves on thicker hair. It really comes down to the product that you want to use in your hair. But, I hope you enjoyed these videos. Let me know if you enjoy these versus videos, right? I'm going to do one next where it's about layering, like bad layers versus good layers. I'm going to do one undercuts versus non-undercuts. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see any specific type of versus style. So thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you soon.